Hi there, watercolor kids, and welcome to episode 5 of Paint and Play, where we're going to have fun and be creative with watercolor. This video is just for you, or you can watch with an adult. And remember that at any point, if you get confused, you can pause the video, and if you have any questions, you can ask your adult to write a comment below. In all of our episodes of Paint and Play, we're going to gather our supplies, recite our mindset mottos, practice our breathing technique, learn something new about watercolor, and today we're going to paint these cute cupcakes together. Here are the supplies that you'll need for today's episode: watercolor paint, watercolor brushes, watercolor paper, a pencil and an eraser, jars of water, some paper towel, and today you'll also need a black marker so you can draw these cute faces. Now that we have all of our supplies, let's recite our mindset mottos. Will you repeat after me? We are all creative. We will be kind to ourselves and others. That's right. Now let's practice our breathing exercise. And this is going to help us relax and focus and get ready to paint. Do you remember our breathing position? Sit up straight. Relax your shoulders, palms facing up. You can close your eyes or open them. Let's get started. Today is a special episode because you're going to learn 2 painting techniques. What? Today we're going to learn how to paint gradients and practice splatter. Can you say gradient? Can you say splatter? Great! Yes, a gradient is when you can fade out a color, like this example. Let's play a quick game. Can you point to the picture that shows a gradient? Is it this one? Or is it this one? You're right, it's this one. Okay, what about these examples? Is this a gradient or is this a gradient? You're right, this one is the gradient. And did you know that these gradients were made with watercolor? How cool is that? So we'll practice that in a little bit. Let's also look at splatter. This is a cool texture technique to add some fun to our painting. You can use an old toothbrush for this technique, but today we're just going to use our brushes. Are you ready? Let's get started. Before we work on our final painting, we need to practice. So let's wake up our paints first. I like to use a spray bottle to wake up my paints because it's a little bit easier than just using my brush. So wake up, paints, wake up. Now you can use whatever colors you want to practice the gradients, okay? I'm going to use my black marker to write out the word gradient and splatter. So choose your first color. I'm using a small round brush and I'm choosing a red-brown color. I want to start with a dark value and then slowly wash out my brush to get a lighter value. Remember, we talked about values in episode 2. Notice how it's getting lighter as I wash out my brush and blot. Okay, this is how you create a gradient, by adjusting how much paint you have on your brush. So now that you know how to do that, let's try to create a gradient within a shape. So I'm going to use my pencil and draw 3 different shapes: a square, a circle, and a triangle. So let's practice that same technique. So start with a darker value. That means a lot of paint and a little bit of water. Color one side of it, wash out your brush, blot, and then fade out that color. That's pretty cool. Let's try it again on the circle. Again, start with that dark value, then wash it out, blot, and then fade it out. You're doing a great job. What about the triangle? Can you try it there? Wow. So now you know how to create gradients in all kinds of shapes too. That's pretty cool. Now let's practice a little bit of splatter. The trick to splatters is making sure that your brush is very watery. So you want to pick up a little bit of paint, right? You want some color to your splatter, but then make sure that you have a lot of water. So I like to dip it back in the water cup, add some water to my brush. And then I'm going to hold the brush with one hand like this. And then I'm going to use my other hand and I'm going to tap, 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 tap. Make sure to hold on to your brush, not too tight like a grip, but just use your thumb to hold down the brush on your hand, okay? So holding it down, I'm going to use my other hand to tap, 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 tap. So hold it over your paper and tap. Do you see that splatter? Wow. So if you're not really seeing some splatter, again, make sure that your brush is wet. If you want to make your splatter even cooler, choose a second color. Any color that you want, and again, add some water to it, and then hold it, and then tap, tap, tap. Oh, that's so cool. I love seeing the larger splatters and the smaller splatters. That's looking really cool. Now, if you need to, practice these techniques one more time. Draw some oblong shapes, practice the gradient, and then practice the splatter. It's okay if you need to practice some more, okay? Next, I want to show you how I draw cupcakes. We're going to draw 6 different cupcakes together. And then from there, you can choose 3 designs that you like for our final painting. So grab some loose paper. You can use your pencil or your black marker and let's sketch. So here's the first one. I'm going to draw a half circle like this, and then a long cylinder shape on the bottom like that, and then draw 3 straight lines for the bottom of the cupcake. And there you go, that's one cupcake. For the second one, create a cloud-like shape on the top. That'll be like our frosting. And then draw a rectangular shape on the bottom. And again, those 3 little lines just shows the cupcake liner part. Let's keep going. Let's do one where there's swirls. So draw some curved lines. And this time, let's make a rounded rectangle at the bottom. Ooh, these cupcakes look really yummy. Next, let's sketch the bottom of the cupcake first. Draw a long half circle, another smaller half circle, another smaller half circle, and then on the top of it, create a swirl. And then connect the lower half circles just like that, with small curved lines. I'm going to make my cupcake liner a little bit fancy and add some scalloped edges to it. It's looking good. Let's go on to cupcake number 5. Let's sketch the bottom of the cupcake again. And this time I want you to draw a cylinder, but make it a little bit narrow on one side and taller and wider on the other side. For the next level of frosting, do it the opposite way, and then add the top of the frosting with a swirl. It kind of looks like a Hershey Kisses, doesn't it? Then I added some decoration to my cupcake liner again. And for the last cupcake liner, again, let's start with the bottom of the cupcake liner. Then I'm going to create the scalloped edge on the top, and then draw a large half circle. Now I'm going to create a teardrop shape for the top of the frosting. And then I realized that middle line has to be erased. So I just used my white gel pen to cover that up. So those are our 6 cupcake designs. Now, if you have your own design, that's totally cool. So let's choose 3 of those drawings and then paint them. All right, let's paint our cupcakes. So my paper is about 8 inches by 8 inches, and I'm gonna use my pencil to sketch my cupcakes first. I'm gonna draw 3 cupcakes right in the middle. Try to sketch a little lightly so that you can erase the lines later. Okay, for each of your cupcakes, make sure to choose at least 2 different colors. The first color is going to be the cupcake part, and the second color is going to be the frosting part. For the frosting, I'm going to choose pinks and blues, and for the cupcake part, I'm going to choose like yellows and light browns. So let's take your brush, and we're going to use that gradient technique. Remember that? We're going to use that gradient technique on the frosting part. So paint a little bit of it in the darker value, wash out your brush, and then fade that color out. Oh, that looks so good. Remember when I told you that having different values makes your painting really interesting and really cool to look at. So that's what we're doing today. All right, that frosting's looking pretty good. Let's go on to the middle cupcake, because if I paint the bottom part of my first one, the color might bleed and mix together on the paper, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm gonna wait for that first cupcake to dry. So while it's drying, I'm gonna move on to the middle cupcake. Again, I see some shapes there, so I'm gonna use the gradient technique. That is so cool. I love when you can see darker values and then lighter values. Let's go on to the third one. And again, I'm using lighter values, dark values, and I'm going back and forth to create a cool looking painting. I wonder what colors you chose for your frosting. These are looking so delicious. Hopefully by now, the frosting layer on your first cupcake should be dry. So now I'm gonna choose a lighter brown color, and again, use that gradient technique to color one side of the cupcake and then fade it out. For the second and third cupcakes, I'm going to use a yellowish color. And then paint the little scalloped edges with a dark pink color. All right, we're done with the painting part. So it's up to you if you want to erase certain pencil lines. You don't have to. You can skip this step if you want. And then if your paint layer is not dry yet, make sure that it's dry before you draw the faces. So I'm going to use my black marker. And for the first one, I'm just drawing a large circle, a small smile, and then a winky face. And you can color in the eye, but then draw 2 more circles, one large, one tiny inside, so that it looks like the pupil of the eye. All right, for the second cupcake, I'm gonna draw just 2 half circles and then 1 small half circle for the smile. And that's it. For the last one, I'm gonna create really pretty eyes with eyelashes. So draw 2 small circles right next to each other and then a small smile. Add some little eyelashes. And then again, for the pupils, draw another circle and then a tiny circle and then color in that eye. Oh, these cupcakes are too cute, aren't they? All right, the last step of our cupcake painting is the splatter. Don't worry, I didn't forget. So grab your brush, pick up some of your paint color, add some water if you have to, and then hold your brush and then tap, 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 tap. I'm choosing a purpley color, a pink color, and a blue color for my splatter. The splatter looks so cool. And in certain parts, when it landed on the frosting, it kind of looks like sprinkles. Well, what do you think? Do your cupcakes look as yummy and cute as mine? Can't wait to see yours. Great job, and thank you for joining me in today's episode of Paint and Play, where we learned all about gradients and splatter and painted some cute cupcakes together. Next time, we'll learn how to use salt in our paintings and paint some colorful fish. I'll see you then. Happy painting. Bye.